Hi, everybody. It's Miriam Siegel here from the Center for Mastery and Excellence. Today, I'm going to be talking about how manifesting, psychic, and intuition can help us in our daily lives. I actually started thinking about this because I've been noticing on Facebook a lot of these sites coming up with manifesting this and manifesting that. And one day it kind of hit me that I wasn't aware that I was consciously trying to manifest things. But what I would do is I would look for what was available and then I would move towards that. That was what I started noticing. And I'm going to come back to that and give you an example. So, first of all, what in heaven's name do I mean by manifesting, psychic, and intuition? And I mean, we all have our ways of looking at these or understanding what these are. And I noticed that manifesting can be understood in different ways. Some people use manifesting as the actual act of envisioning things, like you make a plan about what you want and then you envision that it happens and you send it off into the universe and then you act as if it's already happened. And other people look at manifesting like the thing that you envisioned actually happened. So I manifested that. And you'll get these claims like, I manifested this and I manifested that. And I always end up wondering, which one do you mean? Do you mean that you actually did the thing, followed the steps, and then it actually happened? Or did you just do the steps and this is how you did the steps? Sometimes I find those things unclear. So when I talk about manifesting, I'm talking about the whole shebang. From start to finish, I envisioned this, I had detailed information, I could feel it in my body, all of these things, see it very clearly, send it off into the universe or whatever you do with it, let it go, and then feel as if you've already got it, because somewhere out there you do. And then it actually shows up. That's what I mean by manifesting. You actually realize what you envisioned. So that's manifesting. And then there's psychic, which is the one that I noticed I was doing mostly. And that is using all of your senses and your sixth sense, as some people will call it, to see what's available. I'll come back to more of that in the example that I'm going to give. But it's using your second sight, to put it that way, or perhaps even other senses, like I can hear things and know things and see things and touch things, smell things, taste things. So there are whatever senses you have that will show you where something's available. Intuition, in this case, I'm going to use it in two different ways. It's like using your gut feeling, your inner knowing. Perhaps some people might consider it the more creative side, to give them information. So give you information about, where do I go to get what I want? Let your body tell you, for example, where do I go? Or what is my impression, using my intuition? And I can also talk about here using intuition to discern whether manifesting something, so going through those envisioning steps and all of that I explained, or using psychic is the better strategy for getting what you want in this particular situation. That's another way to use intuition in this particular situation. So let's go to some of the advantages and disadvantages, to put it that way, of using the different strategies. So, and just before I do that, I just want to mention that all of this can be trained. So if you're not used to doing all of these, or you're used to using one more than another, you can actually practice and train. And I'm going to give you a few exercises towards the end so that you can practice on your own. And of course, you can always find some others that are more suited to you. So if you're sort of good at psychic and you're not so good at manifestation or using your intuition, and I mean, I've had that. It's like I've got a really clear intuitive feeling about something and I've ignored it. And then afterwards going, why didn't I listen to my intuition? That's part of the training as well. It's because sometimes we don't understand that our intuition is bringing in sides of our senses and our information that we may not be used to using. And that may be why we don't listen. We have more logical, and here's the advantages, disadvantages of intuition. We may be used to more logical ways of being in the world, or we've been told to ignore gut feelings because we're more knowledge is more important and experience is more important. So that will be one of the ways that you can train intuition, is to start just noticing what it feels like and where do you get it and what kinds of things you get intuitive hits on. I'll come back to that. One of the disadvantages, so-called disadvantages of manifesting, envisioning, is that it can take longer. It can take a while. So if you need something seemingly quickly, psychic may be your better choice. And again, if you're not used to using those parts of yourself, we all have them. We've all had sort of psychic experiences where we've thought of somebody and then suddenly they come walking up, or the phone rings and it's them, or something like that. I remember having a hit one day where I walked past a person and just said a very bright hello in the street, and all of a sudden, knowing that I had to go in and just seeing, go buy a lottery ticket, you're going to win. And so I went in, I'd listened to it, I went in, and I guess this could be a question of whether this was intuition or psychic. In a way, it was kind of both, I think. I went into the shop and I bought a lottery ticket and I did win. I didn't win a lot, but I actually did win. And I thought, well, this is pretty, this is pretty cool. This wasn't something I was looking for. It was something that came to me. But we can train ourselves to look for. And we can use psychic for that as well. So let's go actually straight to some examples of how. And I'm going to use parking spot. This is one of the simple ways where you can manifest or use manifesting techniques, psychic techniques, or your intuition. So let's say you're going to an appointment and it's downtown, it's a busy time of day, and you need a parking space. You need to drive for some reason. So you need a parking space, and you go to the area where you need to park. So ahead of time, you begin by using a manifesting technique where you see where you want your parking space. You see it very clearly. You imagine it with all the details, how you're going to get there, where you're going to park. You see yourself locking your door, getting out of the door, and easily going to your appointment. Make it as detailed as possible. And then you send it off to the universe or let it go. And then you feel as if you already have achieved it. And actually, I heard Peter Sage use a really good example of what that means. It's like you want a bike for Christmas. You really, really, really want a bicycle for Christmas. And on Christmas Eve, you come down and you see this great big package in front of the tree, wrapped up in the shape of a bicycle. So you pretty much know that there's a bicycle in there, but you haven't opened the package yet. So you can't be 100% sure. You're pretty much 99.9% sure, but you haven't actually received the bicycle yet because you haven't unpacked it. And I thought that was a great example of this idea of knowing that you already have it before you actually have it. So when you do your manifesting, it's like that. You've got the clear idea of which bicycle you need. So which parking space you want, where you want it, how it's going to be. Just drive simply in there, no problem with other people trying to take the space away from you or anything like that. Make it alive as alive as possible. And then let it go, send it off to the universe, and know that it's already happened. The parking space is there waiting for you. So that's the manifesting side of it. The psychic side of it, which I realized that I was doing, was using my second sight or my third eye, or some people will say the pineal or pineal gland, which is like right about in there in your mind. I see the parking area where I want to be, and I look to see if there are any available spaces. And I can do that while I'm driving. With manifesting, it's like I have to have done this ahead of time generally speaking. If anybody else has a better way of doing it, please let me know, because I mean, this would be great for other people to be able to practice and use as well. But this is what I know. So I'm sharing what I know. As far as psychic goes, then I look for the place, I see the place, I see if there are any places available, and then I go there and I park in one of those places. That's the psychic side. Then the intuitive side, I want a parking spot, and I want it somewhere in the near vicinity of my appointment at the time of my appointment. And then I'm going to give you an example of how I used my intuition, my body intuition. In a real life situation where I was, excuse me, on a training in Germany a few years ago. Actually, it's going on 10 years ago now. And I got lost. I went out on a lunch break and I got lost in a little town in Germany. I had no idea where I was, except obviously I was in this town. I didn't speak German, just a few words. And there was nobody around. And I had to get back to the hotel for this training. It was going to start in half an hour. And so I walked to the nearest corner and I just asked myself. It's kind of like asking out and asking in. That's the easiest way to put it. But I had my felt sense of my body. I had contact with my body. And I just asked, which way? And I just waited for a moment. And when I could feel that my body would turn in a certain direction or be pulled slightly forward, I went in the direction my body told me to go. And every time I hit a corner, I stopped and said to myself, asked myself, which way? And then my body would make some sort of movement or some sort of indicate, there'd be a feeling inside me. And then I went in that direction. And I swear to goodness, in half an hour, I got back to the hotel. And it was really weird because I got to the hotel, the back side of the hotel, behind the hotel, where I had never been. I hadn't even looked, I hadn't walked around the hotel. So I hadn't looked around. I'd only been in the front and in the park side. So I had no idea what the back side looked like. So, but that's where I got to the hotel in time for the class to start. So that's what I would call using intuition. It's like, what is my gut telling me? So checking in with my gut, where an available parking space is. Where do I need to go? Which way do I go now to get to an available parking space, or even the best available parking space at this time? You see the difference? There's quite a lot of detail, more detail in that. And you can make it even more detail. The best available, nearest to the office at this time, paved. I mean, you can do what you like with it, with good space on either side of the door so I can get in and out easily and there's nobody blocking and there's nobody, I'm not worried about somebody denting my car or anything like that. So this kind of thing, you can actually practice. And I'm using a parking spot as an example, and you can certainly train it with that. But any other thing you would like to have in your life, you can use these techniques, these strategies to get what you want, or at least open to the possibility that you can get or create what you want. So ways to train them. I have people saying to me sometimes, I can't imagine stuff. I don't see stuff. And sometimes there's a reason for that that's connected to some painful experience they have had in the past. Excuse me. Sometimes it's just the fear that they won't be able to do it well enough, and they don't want to feel judged or feel shame or anything like that. And sometimes it's even that they get attention by not being able to do something. So just notice which one of those might be relevant for you. If you're a person, and there's no judgment to this. I mean, we're all human. We all have our strategies and we all have our reactions and we all have our beliefs and thought processes and all of that. So it's not a judgment. It's actually useful information. Like what is working for you or what isn't working for you as far as your present strategies go. Are you a person who gets a lot of tension by not being able to do stuff? Okay, you might want to consider a different strategy, for example. So just get in touch with what your strategy is for that. If you are a person who is good at envisioning, yay. And if you haven't practiced it, or you don't think you're good at it, then you can practice training that as well. A simple way to do that is take a deck of cards and then grab a card and look at the card and look at the details on the card. And you might want to start with a simple one and then turn the card over and see what you see in your memory, or see what you can conjure up in your memory. And then check the card again, and then turn it over and see what more you can see. And just keep practicing that kind of thing until you get better at envisioning. And that will help you with all of these techniques, really. But when it comes to manifesting, very often, the more detailed you are, the more clearly you see something, the easier it'll be, and perhaps the more successful you will be. I mean, I'm not promising anything, but the more, generally speaking, the more we know about what we want, the more likely it is we will be able to create it in our lives and receive it. And of course, receiving is another side of the coin. Am I able to receive what I want? Am I willing to receive what I want? And some people have a thing about receiving where they may not even think they can handle receiving. Some people have been taught that they're not supposed to be happy. Perhaps when they were growing up, it was their parents that were supposed to be happy, and they were supposed to make their parents happy, but they weren't supposed to be happy. So that can be a hidden strategy you have even. So another question might be, if you're manifesting and you're doing all of the details and everything and you're still not receiving, is there something in the receiving part of it that might be in the way? And have a look at that. So generally speaking, the more easily and clearly and detailed you can envision what you want, and time and place and all of that, and what it's going to feel like, and you've already received it, and yay, and really celebrate, I would imagine the more likely it would be that you will actually manifest it. It will manifest itself in your life. Then there's the psychic part, again with the envisioning. But if your skill is more the knowing or the hearing, you can definitely bring those skills in. The advantage to envisioning in this particular case, when we're talking about parking spot, is actually seeing the parking area where you're wanting to park, or the street. And hopefully you've been there before. But if not, what do you see with your second sight? And see if you can get as many details as possible. And again, you can train this. What more can you see? You can even ask while you're looking with your second sight, and what more can I see? Show me some more detail. I need to see a little bit more. And then see if you can see more. And look for the available parking spaces, and then go there and see if they're actually there. Or as you're driving there, follow along and see if somebody took that one. It's okay. Is there another one? The same thing with your gut intuition. Where is my gut telling me to go? Am I used to even feeling my gut? Am I used to even getting in touch with it? Or does it just sort of show up every once in a while spontaneously? And I listen to it or I don't. I follow it or I don't. And then train that. Where in my body do I get those kind of hits? Is it in my gut? If it is in my gut, where in my gut? Is it more in the front? Is it more in the middle? On the top? On the bottom? Sides, maybe? What kinds of intuitive hits do I usually get when I get intuitive hits? And that can help you know which one of these strategies is best for you. If you usually get intuitive hits in your gut when it comes to people and how they behave, you can still train looking for something as concrete as a parking spot. But just know that perhaps you can psychically see a parking spot more easily. Okay, if that works for you. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, is one of the sayings that we have where I come from. Again, if you want to, you can build up your intuitive muscles and your manifesting muscles. Then you have more to choose from when you're out there and using these techniques. And Some of you who are watching may have your own businesses. And one of the ways you can use these techniques is, for example, looking for perhaps the kinds of prospects you want to speak to, or perhaps the wording of something. If you're making an ad, or you're writing content, or you're creating a website, or you're wanting to know how to describe what you do, you can manifest a text. You can psychically see what comes to you. You could, or hear, or feel. You can use an intuitive hit as you're writing. If you write for yourself, what is your gut telling you? What words do you see coming to you, or hear coming to you, or what feels like this is what you need to say? Or this is the type of person you want to be working with or need to be working with, and not that type of person. So these strategies can be useful in all kinds of areas. And I encourage you to try them out and practice them. And let me know how it works out for you. And if you would like any help with this, or to talk to me about it, you are welcome to contact me and book a session. If you haven't worked with me before, you're also welcome to book a call, and we can have a short conversation or a little demo about how we might work together, and hear some of the options that are available to you. And you're more than welcome to write questions and comments under this recording, and I will look at them and I will get back to you with any kind of answers that I may have, or if I need to refer you to someone else. So thanks for joining me today. And again, I'm Miriam Siegel from the Center for Mastery and Excellence, and I look forward to hearing from you. And join me next Friday for Freebie Friday, where I will be coming with some other form of tutorial, masterclass, workshop, something available for you. Have a great week, everyone.